move on to our next item of business, which is consideration of Business Motion 23967 in the name of Graham Day on behalf of the Parliamentary Bureau, setting out a revision to this week's business and a suspension of standing orders. Could I call on Mr. Day to move this motion?
Move, Presiding Officer.
Thank you very much, Minister. Now, I've had no indications in the chat function that any member wishes to speak against this motion. Therefore, the question is that motion number 23967 be agreed. And in this case, only indicate in the chat function if you disagree with the motion. Put an N up if you disagree with the motion. And again, no member is indicating they disagree with the motion. Therefore, the motion is agreed. We're going to move on now to topical questions. Our first topical question this afternoon is from Rona Mackay.
Thank you, Presiding Officer. To ask the Scottish Government what support is available to anyone experiencing domestic abuse in light of reports of an increasing number of referrals by the NSPCC.
Minister Christina McKelvey.
Thank you very much. Presiding Officer, it's deeply concerning that referrals to services have increased during the pandemic. It is important to stress that lockdown restrictions do not prevent a person and their family from leaving their home if they are escaping domestic abuse, and Police Scotland continues to prioritise domestic abuse cases. We would also encourage anyone experiencing domestic abuse to get in touch and get the support that they need using Scotland's domestic abuse and forced marriage helpline, which can be contacted at any time of the day on 0800 027 1234. Presiding Officer, we're working tirelessly to ensure frontline services continue to support adults and children experiencing domestic abuse, and have provided more than £5.75 million in additional funding to services such as Scottish Women's Aid, Assist and Rape Crisis Scotland to ensure services can meet any increase in demand. And we've also worked very closely with the UK Government on a code word scheme in participating pharmacies offering help in the community too.
Thank you. Rona Mackay.
I thank the Minister for that answer. The charity warns referrals are likely to rise further under current lockdown restrictions and is urging people to speak out if they have any concerns about a child's safety or well-being. Can the Minister please outline again how people should raise the alarm if they're concerned someone may be experiencing domestic abuse?
Minister.
Yeah. I would also urge anyone who suspects a child may be at risk of harm to contact their local authority social work department or the police on 101 or on 999 if you think the child is in immediate danger. You do not need to be sure that a child or young person has been actually harmed. It's okay to report a suspicion, and that's an important point to make. The NSPCC helpline on 0808 800 5000 also provides information on reporting concerns about a child at risk of harm and advises on child protection. You can visit their website, which provides further information. And as I said, Scotland's Domestic Abuse and Forced Marriage Helpline can be contacted at any point in the day, and they have information and guidance too.
Rona Mackay.
Thank you for that answer. Will the Minister take this opportunity to ensure that victims of domestic abuse are aware that the support services remain open so that people can access the help they need, and that lockdown restrictions will not prevent you from leaving home if you are escaping harm?
Minister.
Yeah, a priority for the Scottish Government during this pandemic has been to do exactly that, highlight the services via many avenues, social media, and also to ensure that services get to advertise what support they can give to, including Police Scotland. They are still there for anyone experiencing domestic abuse, and I would say please, get in touch if you need that help. Don't delay that help. Staying safe from COVID-19 does not prevent anyone from seeking support, including leaving your home. And we've published guidance to make that fact absolutely clear. And we would encourage anyone experiencing domestic abuse to seek that support using that helpline number, which is 0800 027 1234. We can't overemphasise that. I would ask members to ensure that they can share that number in as many media outlets and contacts that they have too.
Thank you. We've got two supplementary questions on this. The first from Rhoda Grant. It looks like we're having trouble getting Rhoda Grant. We've got another supplementary from Shona. Oh, there's Rhoda.
Thank you, Presiding Officer. Does the Cabinet Secretary agree that given children can also be victims of abuse, that the Domestic Abuse Protection Scotland Bill should be extended so the protections apply equally to them in their own right?
Minister.
Thanks, Rosa Grant, for that question. She'll know that the Domestic Abuse Bill is currently going through the parliamentary processes, and I think it's coming up for stage 2 soon. I would certainly take away and have a conversation with the Cabinet Secretary for Justice, who's leading on that bill, on the point that Rhoda Grant makes, and take that forward and come back to her specifically on that point, because I think it is part of the process, and I don't quite know, Presiding Officer, where that's at this moment in time, but I'll certainly ensure that I get that information from the Cabinet Secretary and come back to Rhoda Grant.
Thank you very much, Minister. And Shona Robertson.
Thank you. The Minister mentioned in her answer to Rowan Mackay that the new code word scheme, where those suffering domestic abuse can find a safe space at many high street pharmacies, is an important service. Can the Minister say more about how this new scheme will be rolled out and publicised to ensure that women get the support that they need through this discreet service?
Minister.
Thank you again, Presiding Officer. We were very pleased to support the implementation of Hestia's Safe Spaces scheme, which has been introduced in pharmacies in May last year, and we've worked with the UK Government on the development of the Code Word scheme for victims of domestic abuse to ensure that those experienced domestic abuse can be signposted to the correct support pathways in Scotland. We will continue to work with the UK Government and our partners in Scotland to monitor the implementation and the delivery of the Code Word scheme to understand how we can best support, enhance and promote the delivery of that model in Scotland. The scheme is being currently delivered in Boots stores in Scotland, and last year I had the pleasure of meeting Mark Donovan, who's the Chief Pharmacist for Boots in the UK, where we discussed the importance of ensuring that the scheme is properly evaluated and that stores work with local communities to embed the scheme and link in with local support groups. And we will continue to work with the UK Government, our partners in Scotland, and our partners in Scotland to monitor and monitor the implementation of the delivery of the Code Word scheme and understand how best we can use that to support, enhance and, as I say, promote the delivery of this very important scheme.
Thank you very much. We'll move on to our second topical, which is from Liam MacArthur.
Thanks, Presiding Officer. To ask the Scottish Government what its position is on reducing the remand population in light of reports that it has nearly doubled since April 2020 and that people awaiting trial are restricted to their cells for 23 hours a day.
Cabinet Secretary Humza Yousaf.
Decisions on bail, remand and sentence in individual cases are, of course, a matter for independent courts based on the circumstances before them. I agree, generally I'm sure, with the member's position that there are far too many people on remand as a percentage of our prison population in Scotland. We know remand can have a damaging impact akin to short sentences in terms of disruption to housing, families, employment, all factors.
Seem to have had a bit of a loss there from the Cabinet Secretary. Mr MacArthur, I don't think you got a chance to hear the full answer, but do you want to give your second supplementary, or your supplementary, and we'll see if we can get the Cabinet Secretary back up?
Thank you, Presiding Officer. Certainly, I acknowledge the point that I heard the Cabinet Secretary make in relation to the risks that can arise in terms of reoffending from short prison sentences and on remand. But the number of people on remand in Scottish prisons is high and rising. Last summer, Her Majesty's Inspector confirmed the level in Scotland is more than double that seen in England, a situation that's only got worse since then. They say people are still waiting to have their case heard, but being asked to spend 23 hours a day in a cell. Given the effects of imprisonment on reoffending rates, overuse of remand creates bigger problems for the future, as acknowledged by the Cabinet Secretary. So why does there appear to be so little confidence in the alternatives available? And what guidance has been issued on the use of remand, particularly during COVID?
Thank you, Mr MacArthur, and thanks for your patience there. We're just waiting to see, but I don't think we're going to get the Cabinet Secretary back. Good point is you've got a chance to put your points on record, so hopefully you'll get a written response to your questions. Got a number of members who are actually hoping to ask supplementaries, but I don't think we can get Mr. Youssef back. It doesn't look like it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to move on to the next item of business, which is a statement. So I would suggest to Mr. MacArthur that he's read his questions into the record. He'll get a written answer from the government. I would suggest to the other members that they also put in written questions. And if Mr. MacArthur had a second supplementary, he might wish to send that through me to the Cabinet Secretary, and we'll try and get a response from him. Apologies that we weren't able to maintain that link.